Begin.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Cantina Club. This week we're talking about Season 2, Episode 4 of The Mandalorian, titled The Siege. That's what it's called. So we'll be right back after this with a special rare unboxing.
Know around here, Solo always does shots first. Sing it, yo,
Music's playing.
and sing
Gotta get
your
into it.
love. Sing it with
No matter if you
your
got
love.
flippers, skills or flippers, appendages, tentacles, raise them up, 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 up,
All right, welcome back, everybody. We're going to start this show with an unboxing that Greedo has announced he has. So I'm going to turn it over to
So shocking,
Lord
it interrupted
Greedo.
our transmission. Shut your mouth and bow, traitor. All right,
Right away, sir.
Here's the special unboxing from beyond the virtual background.
okay.
May cause a problem. Baby Yoda, the Force
You have
is
to
not
pull it.
allowing.
You have to pull it back from it. Oh,
Can we see
wow!
it? It got something very weak coming through.
Coming through. Oh my goodness.
Oh, wow!
Anyway, if you can sort of see this.
The joys of virtual backgrounds.
Help me, Obi-Wan.
Help me, Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan.
No, Obi.
Where is she? Bring her back. There she is.
There she is.
Anyway, you can sort of make out from that.
Yeah, no, I got the idea. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a Carrie Fisher
Isn't that
autograph from Star Wars. So I got a bargain basement
Mhm.
price on it,
wow.
but it is
Cool.
legit. It is real, and yeah, it's nice. It's an 8x10, and so now I have a New Hope or original Star Wars, Princess Leia autograph, an Empire, and a Jedi. So
Oh, that's awesome. Fantastic, man.
I wait for the deals.
Yeah.
And then I jump on them. So that was definitely a deal.
You are the master of the deals, that's for sure.
Yes.
Very cool. Very cool.
I'm the master of wasting time on the internet looking for deals. Looks like I have the Yoda ears going on again today.
The power of social media groups.
Yes. Basically, yeah.
Yeah, pretty
That's
much.
it. That's it.
That's it. All right, so we're going to get into this latest episode of The Mandalorian titled The Siege. It's the 4th episode of the 2nd season, so we're
What else can
basically
go
at the
wrong?
halfway point of the now. So we're going to start out like normal with our non-spoiler reviews. So let's throw it to Greedo this time to start us off.
I want to pass to Gundark to start us off.
Oh, well, there you go.
Gundark, we still have to make sure she's not some kind of midi-chlorian clone.
Yes, this is
Some
also
type
a
of
rare
plant.
treat with back-to-back episodes with a Gundark.
Yes.
So, very rare.
back there?
She has way too many childs behind her. Something is suspicious about this.
Okay.
All right, so Gundark, since Greedo threw it to you, let's have your non-spoiler review.
I loved this episode. It felt a little bit slow at the beginning to me, but it got better and better, and I just loved the second half. Wonderful action, all kinds of cool Easter eggs, especially back to Star Wars: A New Hope, without being too obvious and overwhelming. And it moved the overall story arc of the season forward a lot more quickly in a way that I was happy to see. So really enjoyed this episode.
Okay, all right, Greedo.
I'm gonna say the same thing pretty much. It had the action, it had the comedy. It's a comedy, as you can see.
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
Baby Yoda is continued being the comic relief. I really liked it. We kind of, again, what I may have referred to in the last episode, that even the epic episodes are personal, and they're their conflict between a few characters. So you're not seeing like grand scale stuff. If you have 4 TIE fighters and a handful of speeder bikes, that's epic, you know, and one
Right.
more.
That's epic
But
by Mandalorian standards.
yeah, exactly. That's pretty
Mhm.
much all they're going for. And in that regard, I thought it was well done. It was a little bit longer, which I complained about the last one being too short. So I thought it felt pretty much right on as far as the
Timing.
and the development of the plot and everything.
Mhm.
There was a bunch of old characters brought back, which I thought was great. I thought a couple, which we'll get into once we get past the spoilers, a couple of the characters were better, like less annoying maybe than in the past for me. So that was good.
Okay.
And Baby Yoda was utilized just about perfectly, and the action was great. So yeah, for me it was a very pleasing episode, and
All right.
flippers and tentacles up.
There you go. So for me, I'll agree for the most part. I really enjoyed the episode. I thought it kind of, at least pacing wise, I thought it paralleled the second episode, the one with the spider cave. Kind of like what Gundark said, where it's slow at the beginning, and then it was just like, kind of a sprint from once it kicked in, once the action kicked in, it was a sprint to the end. So some very similar pacing, I thought, which I thought worked okay. I thought it worked well because they had a nice setup at the beginning and then a very, very cool payoff. But yeah, I thought the utilization of Baby Yoda in this episode was effective. Thought we got some really good stuff with him. And then a couple little nitpicks here and there, which we'll get into in the spoiler version. But overall, yeah, I really enjoyed the episode. Still, so they're basically 4 for 4 this season, I think, on good, enjoyable episodes. Okay. All right. Okay. So once again, the spoiler alert. From this point on, we're going to get into the details of it. So turn away, turn it off, and then come back after you watch it. All right.
We can see
Let's
it
see now.
right.
Oh,
Oh, now
there you
that's
go.
nice.
Now you can see it better.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's amazing.
that is nice.
Baby Yoda.
He'll eat anything.
No, not
Even
the,
Carrie Fisher autographs.
Not the autograph.
take the Leia picture and put it up. No, not,
Put it.
not
no,
the Vader picture. That's the
not.
Vader picture.
Yeah. Put that where the Vader picture was.
So spoilers, you've been warned. It's nobody's gonna cry over the internet anymore for people that don't watch this on the first weekend. So get a life.
Exactly. And it
Lose
helps
your
that we,
life like
and
everyone
it helps
else
that
to
we
watch it
post
when it
these
comes
2
out.
weeks after the episodes air. So.
Yeah, we're slow.
Yeah, we're a little slow.
We're the dial-up of internet.
The dial-up of Star Wars
Podcast. Loading.
That should be our new theme
You've
song.
been hacked. Oh, great! I have to call customer support now. That'll take another month.
All right.
All right.
So this next episode, yet again, it seems like we're just literally picking up right where the previous episode left off. We haven't had any time has gone by because obviously this episode starts with more, that patchwork job that was done by the Mon Calamari at the end of last episode has obviously thrown them back out of hyperspace. He's trying to get it to work. He can't go to where he wants to go to find Ahsoka. So he figures he's going to head back to, and someone help me, I'm drawing a blank on the planet name.
Navarro or something like that.
Yeah, Navarro. So he's going to head there since apparently he's conveniently right next to that planet where Cara Dune and where basically a lot of the action happened last season. So,
And if he'd taken better care of his Ugnaught, he wouldn't have to go back looking for help to repair his ship.
That's right. He'd have a mechanic. So let's talk about the that opening scene though. There was a pretty cool scene, sort of in a way you almost call it a cut scene. It's kind of the intro side piece with Baby Yoda trying to kind of help out fixing the ship in the crawl space. What'd you guys think of that scene?
I loved that scene.
That was really well done. I really enjoyed that too. I thought that was really funny.
Greedo said something like, why is the crawl space so small when you have important
Yeah, exactly.
Connections
That was
to
my
make
first
in
thought.
there.
It's like, how is the crawl space going to be this big? Yeah.
Yeah. And then you gotta send a baby Yoda in there. So
Exactly. You
many
don't have a choice.
children to go into.
I can see an episode where they have to come up with some science to shrink themselves down just to go to the normal maintenance of the ship, and then they're struggling to pull the connection.
Yeah, they're too small to pull the connector
like,
out.
they're like action figure size.
It's just having those reverse shots of Baby Yoda down in there, and the reverse shot of his big old helmet.
Yeah, his big helmet sticking in the opening.
Like, trying to give instructions. So it's like,
And the funniest part was the puppeteers do such a great job with Baby Yoda that as soon as it cut to the shot of him in there messing with that stuff, you knew it was hopeless.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
Mandalorian didn't realize it was hopeless, but we knew immediately it was.
We knew, yeah, there's no way this is going to work.
and I love the Baby Yoda sounds. It's like,
Uh-huh.
What are you telling me? Like, this is baby, and you're training him as a mechanic already. Come on.
And we're all wondering too, like, can the Baby Yoda even see the same colors?
That's yeah.
Colorblind. Does he know the difference between red and
blue
blue?
and red?
Exactly.
He might be colorblind according
And it
to
did it.
Harvard.
And basically, it did it like a real child would do too. When he specifically told it, "Do not let them touch."
Yeah,
Like,
and then it's
bang! Like the first thing he does is he just puts them
okay.
together. Whatever you do, don't let them touch. Okay, bang.
Poor Mando.
Exactly.
Parenting is a trial.
Yeah. So it seems like the child is back to making just normal baby noises too.
Yeah.
But just for the record, Greedo, I was listening to a different Star Wars podcast doing also reviews of The Mandalorian, and they seem to agree with you that in that second episode, it seemed like that was the
It was
first
different.
time Baby Yoda was actually trying to
Talking.
form words and say
Mhm.
something as opposed to just making the typical, cooing baby sounds. Yeah, exactly. Like he was actually trying to form words and communicate with Mando.
It sounded kind of irritated too, the Baby Yoda.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why aren't you understanding me?
I was like, what is that? It reminded me of Gremlins more.
Right. Okay, so from there, they make it back to Navarro, or they make it to Navarro, and obviously waiting there on the landing pad for them are Cara Dune and Grief Karga. So obviously, and Carl Weathers did direct this episode. I think we mentioned that last week that he was going to be directing this episode. So we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get back. But I thought it was good to see the characters again. I kind of missed them after they made several, obviously quite a few appearances last season. Now we're getting to the fourth episode before we see them this season. But I thought they were a nice sort of breath of fresh air for the show this season. What do you guys think?
I loved having them back, especially of Miss Grief Karga, and it was and having the man shake between him and
The man shake, yeah.
the closest they were gonna come to a predator man shake.
Right.
First meet was just awesome, and we forgot to mention that Cara Dune had the really cool SmackDown scene at the beginning at the pre
Right.
title sequence SmackDown.
Right.
Where she showed that she's the new.
Oh, that's right. You're right. I totally forgot about the pre-title
Which
sequence.
is-
You're right.
Yeah, it was a really cool action sequence, taking out a whole room full of walrus men.
Yeah, Walrusman, exactly.
Save the parrot or whatever.
Yeah.
Serious
Yeah, that was
walrus
really
man.
cool. I enjoyed that. That was a nice, like you call it, a SmackDown scene. That was really good.
But I'm really glad to have those characters back again.
Yeah.
And that's what I was hoping for and mentioned in the last podcast when I heard that you said that Carl Weathers was going to be directing this episode. I was
Mhm.
hoping that they would go back to those characters. So
Yeah.
that was
And
great.
I like the fact that we see now that she's actually taken over as the marshal in this town. And so she's basically the law now that they've cleaned up the as he calls it, of course, the old reliable line of scum and villainy has been washed away, as he calls it.
And he
But
is
she's-
now doing clerical work.
Yeah, clerical work. I
Overwhelmed
love
with
it.
Clerical work. That Greek are doing clerical work.
Yeah, you get the feeling that was code for I have other
Yeah.
people doing stuff for
Having
me,
other people do stuff
and I'm
for him,
busy,
yeah.
doing nothing, basically.
Yeah,
You have to know
exactly.
Karga code. I've been made magistrate, Mando. What else is there to do but kick back and enjoy myself, while others do the marshaling and the clerical work?
Clerical.
So he obviously needs repairs to the Razor Crest.
Oh, and your Lord Greedo here loved that as well. You never asked. You skipped your Lord Greedo, which
Lord Greedo's forgotten.
if you bow 12 times to me,
The traitor bows to no one.
It's 300 years life debt to you then.
So we first get our inkling that something is not on not on the up and up when one of the mechanics is just basically looking shady. The typical sort of looking over the shoulder and checking them out as they're walking off into the distance. So we know something shady is going on here, which later we get the payoff for that later. But so
and it helps
meanwhile,
that he's a creature, because you can always in this show you can just kill and maim creatures, stormtroopers and creatures. You can just kill and maim with impunity. And
with impunity, exactly.
Yeah,
you don't have to feel bad about it.
There's a good chance he's bad,
but not eggs apparently.
Right, no.
Unfertilized eggs.
Not embryos for children.
So anyway,
unless you're a mudhorn, then it's all bets are off.
Yeah.
So then we get to the conversation as they're walking through town, kind of showing Mando how things have changed since he was last there, that they need help with something, and they stop by. Meanwhile, a school, which was actually, if I'm correct, I'm assuming that was the original. That was the bar that they were in, where they almost all died, kind of cashed out last season, because that's what explained his comment. Like, I'm surprised this thing is still standing, as bad as it was blown to pieces last time.
Oh, can I say something before you go on?
Sure.
I just saw something online this morning, the list of Easter eggs in this episode, and supposedly there's a statue of IG-11 behind them as they're entering that bar. It's a statue of IG-11.
His sacrifice will be remembered.
I'll have to look for it.
You gotta go back and look for it.
Yeah, I'll have to check for that. That's funny.
I also do want to point out that this is perhaps the first, school with a giant vent to the sewer directly in the classroom.
Yeah.
We all know that's needed.
And if this was an animated series, that some of the main character kids in the school would find that and get down in there and get into trouble with the creatures. And
exactly.
Yeah.
So we see that it's been turned into a classroom. It's being led by a protocol droid, and most of the school children look, they're various ages, but they're probably roughly like middle school or a little younger, maybe elementary. But so they leave Baby Yoda there. They leave the child there because, again, I think it's funny too. I picked up on what I thought was a contradiction. How he's like, "No, wherever I go, he goes," and it's not the first time he said that, but yet in almost every episode, he's left him with somebody.
Right.
And now suddenly he's like, no, he goes with me. No matter where I go, he goes.
Yeah.
Like that's not really the case, but okay. So they leave the child, and then we get into a really funny scene, illustrated, that's going on behind Greedo's head there, where the kid next to the child is eating these green cookies, which look literally like macaroons, and very thinly disguised. And so he ends up actually using the Force. It's the first time this season we've seen him use the Force. And he pulls the cookies off of the table when the kid won't give him one, and starts eating them himself anyway. So that was kind of a fun little back and forth.
And that mirrors it's a callback to when Luke was trapped in the Rancor pit and he called the box of Ritz crackers to himself to have a nice snack.
That's exactly the same. Yeah, I thought they kind of ripped it off, to be honest.
Yeah,
it really was kind of the same.
It's a very
very important.
Call the Ritz crackers, Luke. Baby Yoda is using the Force for very important things in this season so far.
All right, so
I can see why Moff Gideon wants that power.
I've got one other question before we leave the schoolroom scene. The protocol droid was talking about Kessel.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't pick up on that. Okay.
Yeah.
Started with Corellia. It was talking about Corellia.
Oh, okay.
Then it went to
And
Kessel
then
and talked
my
about
home.
the Maw.
And
Right?
I thought maybe it was talking about the Maelstrom or whatever.
The Maelstrom. That's it. Not the Maw. The Maelstrom.
Around Kessel. And
Oh,
maybe
okay.
giving an explanation for it, but I haven't had a chance to go back and watch it and actually listen where I could hear.
Yeah,
it.
I'll have to look for that next time I watch it.
Well, what probably happened is once Han Solo was involved in government after the fall of the Empire, one of the first rules they passed was that the Kessel Run must be taught in all schools. About how
Exactly.
the Millennium Falcon did it faster than any other ship in the galaxy. So
Exactly.
just like Columbus discovered America, no matter what, Han Solo did the Kessel Run.
Okay, so from the classroom, we follow Mando, Kara, and Grief to his office where we meet. We're reunited with another character that we haven't seen basically since episode 1 of the first season. So somebody want to kind of take it from there and tell us a little bit about this next scene?
Like Greedo, because Greedo's had issues with this character that you're talking about. So I wanna hear what
Okay.
Greedo
Well, is
thinks
it
about
fair
this.
then for me to be the one to summarize
Well,
it?
I want to hear what you think about, since you had issues with the first appearance. Is the character any better for you in the return?
Okay, so anybody know his name? Anybody remember
Not
his
top of my
name?
head, no.
It's the blue guy that was the very first
Looks like he
bounty
has, like,
in
the
the first
sort of
episode.
Fins on his.
And he's the first example we saw
Yeah.
of somebody being put into carbonite, which hasn't really been done since in the Razor Crest.
Yeah.
And he was very, very much comedic relief and making almost like postmodern jokes that to me didn't fit in the Star Wars universe in his first appearance. In this appearance, I thought they toned him down quite a bit, and they created a adversarial relationship between him and Grief Karga, so that the jokes more came from Grief Karga's sort of, backhanded use of him and everything. But he seemed much more like a normal denizen of the galaxy in this, who was reluctant to get involved in these things that were above his pay grade, which made a lot more sense. And they just didn't do as many, what we would think of as dad jokes or things that seemed to that was the thing I had. The problem I had with the character the first time was, luckily he was frozen in carbonite really fast, because I thought, oh no, this guy's going to be the goofy sidekick, like the guy in the 90s Judge Dredd movie, and like Jar Jar. They always stick him with this horrible sidekick. And in this episode, they did that because as the episode goes on, they have times where he could leave, but he just for no reason goes, oh, I guess I better come along. It's like, oh God, please, you don't have to. No, you can really go now. but as typical, they always have the comic relief just tag along. But I had no problem with them in this. I thought they wrote him, and I guess the performances they chose, the takes they chose, the direction of the character, and I give credit to the actor, of course, toned it down to where I was laughing more at what he was doing, at his antics in this, like I'm supposed to, than I was rolling my eyes and praying for death. And I have no idea who that guy is. Gundark said he might be from Saturday Night Live or
That's
something.
what I thought I read somewhere in his first appearance, that he had been a comedian. He's a comedian that had been on Saturday Night
Well, let me
Live.
put it to you this way. You take that character from the first episode of Mandalorian, and you put him in Return of the Jedi, which this is supposed to take place only 5 years after. Does he fit?
No.
Hell no, not at all. Yeah, there's no way. So, because it's not because he's alien, it's because he's too much like us, in my opinion. So they reined that in and much better. I did want to mention too that there still seems to be an overall propensity in the show for formulaic speaking that's still going on. It's not as pronounced as it was in the first couple episodes, I thought, but it's still there. They're still going for this kind of odd frontier speak, Western throwback, old frontier America, plus some kind of almost Shakespearean formalized archaic. Yeah, Victorian. I'm not sure, but everyone and I think it was more obvious to me with Grief Karga's character in the first season, because he was trying to put on airs to be, pompous.
Mhm.
He was really always projecting that he's important, he's self-important, everything.
Right.
Where it seems to be now, they're letting it leach into where when people aren't down in the dirt, when they're actually trying to speak in a more formal manner and everything. And so that seems to be kind of what they're going for, is a tone for the way people speak to each other in the outer rim territories or whatever. Just an interesting point. And while we're on it too, I want to mention that our mother was watching this episode with us, and her favorite scene was the one with Baby Yoda playing with the cables she loved that. So again, this goes back to the idea, this is a family show, and those scenes like that work immensely for certain people that are watching that aren't necessarily Star Wars fans or know anything about this. They just know what they like, and so that scene really worked for those kind of things. So anyway, Blue Guy is reluctant to go along, but with whatever their plan is, and then you find out he owes a debt to Grief Karga. 300 years, because evidently Grief Karga was the one who put out the bounty on him originally, because he took the books,
which is interesting to learn that now. Yeah.
But he looks like he's going to be a semi-permanent character in that office there, Karga's office, kind of the secretary or whatever.
Right.
He's got the big ears and picks up on everything.
Right. He's basically working his books, which apparently, according to what Grief Karga said, he was working his books before. He even said that ever since he was, a kid, basically, and then
pollywog.
And then that's why he ran away, because he did some creative accounting and disappeared with his money. So now he's got him back working off his debt. And for the record, I did look it up. The character's name is Mithril.
Oh, first I've heard of it. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Mithril.
I don't think they've ever actually mentioned the name in the
It's kind of an epic dwarf name or something.
Yeah, exactly. Mithril.
Summon Mithril. I'm here. Hey. Oh, you are the Mithril?
Summon Mithril. So from there, they tell them their plan. What they want to ultimately do here is they need Mando's help taking out what they're calling the last Imperial base on Navarro. They just want to get rid of it so that way, all Imperial presence on the planet is removed. So Mando agrees. They briefly go over a plan that apparently this thing has been built. Why they build these things on lava shafts, I don't know. On top of active volcanoes.
Empire has an affinity for lava. That's all there is to it.
Who does need lava? Yeah, hot lava. So they said it shouldn't be too hard to set off to turn off the reactor or whatever the controlling device is that keeps the lava at bay, and therefore destroy the station. So they get in the land speeder. We see them heading off. It's a very short trip. Apparently, they just get right there. Next thing you know, they're at the front door.
Yes, the other side of the planet. Here we are.
Yeah, the other exactly. That's actually a good point, because when they were describing it, they were like, "We're here, and this is way on the other side of the planet." And it feels like 5 minutes later.
I expected one of the characters to be back at the town with those binoculars, looking and watching what they're doing,
because it's so close. Yeah.
It was
like right down the street.
It was still volcanic lava. Like, what? I guess it's the whole planet after all. I don't know. Oh, and can we mention too, because we skipped it, how cool, what did you guys think of the ferret, the lava ferret?
Oh yeah.
Oh, the ferret is cool.
At the beginning, you talking about in the pre-credit scene?
Because we saw them in season 1. At the end, they were in those lava tunnels, creeping around with their red eyes.
I didn't remember that. Okay.
They were the ones that were following them down while they were floating down the lava. All the creatures came out of the hole.
I don't even remember that. Okay, very cool.
How cool.
Well, on that note, I'm assuming, did you guys notice that I don't know if it was a cut scene or what, but the paintings during the credits, did you see the painting of that creature?
Yeah, it was breathing fire. Yeah,
it was breathing fire into the face of one of the walrus men. So I'm assuming maybe that was a gag that they were going to do, but they didn't do or cut out. Yeah.
It's more likely that they're like immune to fire and can suck in.
If they live around lava,
yeah.
Sure. They would have to be immune to it, probably. Okay.
Yeah, maybe they couldn't figure out a way to make that convincing, but That would
Right,
be funny.
exactly. So we get to the quote unquote front door of this place. They can't get in. They say the controls are melted basically. And I thought it was funny that Grief
wonder
Karga, I think,
why.
made a side comment about it's just basically it was either him or Cara Dune, I forget, but basically made a comment like, no, it's just Imperial crap design. You know, right? It's just crappy Imperial design.
Typical trash.
Melted. It's just trash. Yeah. So
Made them
so they
planet
get
China.
Mythrol out. So they summon Mythrol to try and get in through
Speak
the
Mythrol and
activation
enter.
plate. So meanwhile, Mando looks up and sees like basically a platform that's way up above them on the cliff face, and decide, like, I'll be back. And then he just rockets up there without any explanation. And about 3 seconds later, we see a stormtrooper plummeting to his death right at their feet, and then the door opens. So, so the Mandalorian took care of that. So that's how they gain entrance to this base.
I wish for once they would go in one of these bases and go, yeah, you guys saw the Death Star blow up, right? Anybody want to defect?
Right. At least make the offer.
Yeah, we could throw you off this
Odds are not
cliff
good.
and you could fall for comedic effect, or you could just leave, do something else.
Exactly.
I mean, your paychecks aren't coming in, right? Imperial currency, you really can't be worth crap right now. So
Exactly. So they infiltrate this base. The other three characters make it to where Mando is up on the platform, and he's already taken out all the stormtroopers. There's at least 4 or 5 that are visible lying there. And he does make the comment like, so an abandoned base, huh?
Yeah.
So
still doesn't trust Grief Karga completely.
yeah.
Straightforward. After
Exactly.
he's the guy that can't count stormtroopers, if we remember.
Yeah.
Famously. You said that was 3 or 4.
Exactly.
Whatever it was.
500.
Right. So now they basically set out to find the control room, which they do. We see another great scene with an Imperial officer just sort of sitting by himself in this room, trying to figure out why the video feed's been cut. And next thing you know, Cara Dune comes up and puts one of her MMA sleeper holds on him.
Yeah,
And, literally puts the
and
guy to sleep.
his amazing
Yawn.
Imperial training kicked in, and he just keeled over and
And he
laid
just
there.
succumbed instantly.
It's like,
So anyway, so yeah, but I am actually, I thought it was kind of nice that they didn't just go to the typical trope of snap the neck.
yeah,
They just literally should put him actually.
I was
in
waiting
something
for him to
that's
get up and cause
legit,
trouble
like
later,
a
but-
legit sleeper hold, and put him to
Yeah.
sleep. As opposed to just snapping his neck, doing the usual and it's done. Because that's just the easiest thing in the world, to snap someone's neck like that. Definitely not real. Anyway, so they figure out where the controls are that they need, and I notice obviously a quick scene of Mando cutting all the video feeds, which was a smart move. And then they head off towards that, and that's when they start running into various squads of stormtroopers, which is always amazing. I'm always all in when that happens. So we just need like a 2-hour stormtrooper battle, and I'll be happy, apparently. So, but these are great. I mean, I don't know what it was. It was something about this episode, the way these battles were. They really, to me, harken back to Star Wars, like the original trilogy, the way that the stormtroopers were attacking, just kind of that typical sort of, some of them were hiding behind the blast doors and stuff, but most of them are just kind of running randomly out in the middle of the hall and just getting blown away.
Right.
Knowing full well that the armor they wear is useless. It doesn't.
And I
protect
could
them
have
against
sworn
anything.
too, when they heard them talking in the corridor, they heard the stormtroopers talking in the corridor before the stormtroopers knew they were there.
Mhm.
It sounded just like the old voices
Yes.
from A New
I think it
Hope.
was.
Yeah, it
Yeah, I
did.
think it was. They're using the
Which,
exact same.
Trying to
same
remember his name, but
effects.
that voice actor that we met at Pensacon, he'd be a
Mhm.
good
Mhm.
he'd be a good guy to ask if they used the original voices on that. But
Right. So yeah, so that was cool. So they finally make it to the core of this place where they're gonna turn off the shields or whatever it is that's protecting this place. And then we start having one, and this is just a preference for me. This is one of my first nitpicks. Is I don't know. You talked about it already a little bit, Greedo. The dialogue, the jokes, quote unquote, from Grief Karga to Mithril. And to me, it felt kind of flat. Because I don't know. I just thought it was just kind of, I know that they were trying to be funny with it, but it just got annoying, to me. It was like this guy's just trying to walk. And I get, that stuff was funny. Like, hey, don't you know I'm afraid of heights and lava and heat and all, and I thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
But then it's just like, this incessant Carl Weathers, come on, let's go, hurry up, let's go, come on, hurry up, let's go. Like, dude, chill. It's been 2.3 seconds and you've already said let's go 12 times.
But see, I can relate to Grief Karga though, because I am not at all a pompous dictator like Grief Karga, but I can relate to his other qualities. Oh, it's Mordor. I think you should throw the child into there. See what happens.
Yeah.
The cooling lines. We'll watch the door.
Maybe that's what Moff Gideon did.
Yes, you. I'm afraid of heights. And heat. And lava. How about if I put you back in carbonite? Get over there.
Which is, he despises that blue fin guy and doesn't want to hear his bullshit humor. And it's like, how about I throw you back in carbonite? And I'm like, yeah, Grief Karga, go. Make it easy. It's like, we got Cara Dune, we got the Mandalorian, we got Grief Karga, we got this guy who we now know is Mithril that we would have never known. One of them is expendable. Which one?
And that's actually a really good point, because at this point in the episode, I honestly thought they were going to kill him off, because I was literally picturing it like that. Like, he is totally expendable in this group.
Every time he got a close up, because he's so used to, like, why is he getting a close up? Must be about to get a laser in the chest.
Right. Either he was going to get shot and fall into the lava, or something was going to happen, is what I really thought was going to happen, to add a little bit of, gravitas to the episode, but it didn't happen.
No. Okay, let me ask you this. They make him go out to turn off the shields, right?
Which was funny. Come on, you gotta admit that was funny.
Along the thing that has no guardrails, somebody finally says
that
Imperial architecture has no guardrails.
Has no guardrails.
It never does. Times to make sure it wasn't gonna fold.
But wait a minute. Why send anybody else out onto the ledge with no guardrails when you got a guy with a jetpack there who, if he falls, can immediately jetpack away?
That's a great point.
The one that goes on there. Why?
Well, just because you can doesn't mean you want to.
That's still a really good point. That's a good point.
Fuel, you've got an infinite, a finite amount of fuel in that jetpack now. You have an expendable blue guy. What else is he there for?
Point.
I mean, you hacked this console and you don't need him anymore. Literally, there's no other need for him for the rest of the adventure. So go for it, dude. The only person who's out is Grief Karga, out some debt. A slave, basically.
300 years of debt.
I call it
that was really good. That's funny. No, it's really.
It was another callback. It was the same console that we see on the Death Star as far as the readouts. It didn't have quite some of the same controls, but over and over in this episode, the Imperial out looked 100 years old. It looked like it was from the Death Star, and it was all red and blue switches and black toggle switches. Which, how in the hell do they ever know? I mean, each console looks the same. So how do they know which switches, destruct the base, and which ones turn on the air conditioner, and which ones, whatever, control the doors? It doesn't make.
It was great to see the incredibly inefficient and inhumane Imperial architecture.
And nothing is ever labeled, if you notice. There's no labels on anything.
No, there's never any lettering on anything.
And the guy you could tell from his expression, he was like, maybe it's this one, maybe it's this one. So any random idiot can come in and just randomly push buttons until you destruct the base, is what you're telling me.
Basically.
The base built over lava.
Yeah. That is not only is it lava, it's not just lava calmly sitting there. It is lava imploding constantly, only held in check by this one
boiling, bubbling lava.
explosive, like ready to
Volcanic structure.
fire through the entire base if you just hit one button wrong.
Before we go too much farther, I do want to, the Imperial geek in me has to say this. I loved the usage of the Imperial code cylinders that they got off of
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Good point.
the one they put to sleep, how they took that, and that's how they were accessing all the doorways and how they're accessing the access to the, to the actual middle shaft there that they were working on to destroy the base. So I just thought that was kind of cool that they actually a practical use for the little code cylinders like that, which was used.
Yeah.
Okay, so from there we get into more firefights with the stormtroopers as they're making their way through. And this culminates in them arriving at basically what we eventually learn is a laboratory, where we've got two other officers there,
Scientists.
obviously aware that they're about to be attacked, because they're frantically trying to, I don't know if they're downloading data or what they're doing, but apparently, our quote unquote heroes get there too soon and destroy it all, So he does. He actually blasts the console multiple times before they're both dispatched. And then we see what's actually going on in this room, and there's a picture of it right there behind Greedo. So we're seeing basically what looks like, at least the way I interpreted it, as one of the early stages of cloning operations that they're working on here.
What are those uniforms? Are those medical uniforms?
Those are the cloning scientist uniforms.
Yeah.
And that is
Oh my
What?
God.
clone soup.
Who is being cloned?
I thought you said this was a forward operating base.
I thought it was.
No. This
Is
is
Grief
a
Kargan
lab.
ever right about
This
anything?
is a lab.
This is why
We need to
Moff
get into the
Gideon
system
wanted
of
Baby
things.
Yoda.
What about the reactor?
Do it.
Obviously, cloning has been going on for decades at this point in the Star Wars universe. But this is something that I'm assuming will ultimately is trying to explain the eventual appearance of Snoke and characters like that. And maybe even the return
It
of
does look a
Palpatine.
lot like Snoke when you see the still picture of it there.
Yeah, it does. It does. I was actually messaging with a friend of mine last night.
Online about that.
Yeah, I was messaging with a friend of mine last night, and he was pretty convinced it was like a early version of Snoke in there as well. So we get so from there we get a Dr. Pershing hologram message, and he, if you remember, he's the doctor from the first season where we first found the child. And he captured the child,
Right.
and
the Mandalorian spared his life. if you
spared his
remember,
life, right?
Yeah.
Because he hadn't killed
which
the
could
child.
come into
Because
play
he
later,
tried
I
to
think.
protect the child, yeah.
Mhm.
Right, yeah, he was actually trying to keep it alive. So anyway, so we get
Well, he claimed
I thought it was
that, and
interesting
then
because
Mando believed him.
yeah, and I thought it was interesting though because the Mandalorian obviously thought that Moff Gideon was dead because this hologram message is to Moff Gideon, and he's like, well, this is an old recording because clearly Moff Gideon's dead. They just assumed he died in the TIE fighter, when his TIE fighter went down at the end of last season. And then of course they checked that by saying no, this recording was only 3 days ago. So now they realize that Moff Gideon is still alive, and that'll obviously lead us into stuff coming up. So from there,
Mando was like, if we'd only had 5
Can we-
minutes in that
can we
episode to
talk-
go check on the wreckage and see if he was alive or dead, but we ran out of time.
right.
Because no one's ever survived a ship crashing before, right? I mean,
Never.
That's unheard of.
Can I ask about
Yeah.
what that scene means, like for the overall saga? I mean, if you're speculating that those clones look like Snoke, the thing that I want to know at this point is to what degree does Moff Gideon's plans, because obviously that message from the doctor was from Moff Gideon, to what
Mhm.
degree do his plans coincide with Palpatine's plans and Palpatine's cloning? And does Moff Gideon actually know Palpatine's still alive, or is he following his own agenda? Are the two coinciding?
Right.
or is
Are they
he just
connected,
trying
or are
to
they
bring back
operating
Mandalore?
separately? Yeah. I don't know. I don't think we
Is
have
he
enough
working
information
for
to
the
make that
Emperor?
guess. Is it what?
Is he working for the Emperor, or is he working on his own?
I mean, not enough
Lord
information.
Greedo. That's what I'm wondering at this point. I'm thinking it's more his own attempt to
Mhm.
because I think he may also be experimenting on himself somehow. Because did you mention the thing about the blood taken from Baby Yoda has the high M count, the doctor
Mhm.
said in that message, which
Right.
suggests midichlorians.
Midi-chlorians,
So
yep, exactly.
yeah, are these clones an attempt to
Could be
create?
mucus.
Is it an attempt to create a new emperor? Is it an attempt to create an armed force of force users?
Yeah, the
Is
old emperor was so great. Let's create a new one.
Yeah, I mean, what's going on there? And is Moff Gideon planning on taking force powers himself? Because maybe he could be experimenting on
Right.
himself as well.
No, there's a lot of
So
possibilities for sure.
I wonder about all those things, especially with the creatures looking like Snoke.
Mhm.
To what degree this coincides with stuff that's going on? in
And
the
still,
Star Wars movies.
how is the empire whittled down so far, and yet the ones remaining are such loyalists that they're willing to kill themselves
Yeah,
rather than be captured
Mhm.
and possibly reveal information that might harm the empire or whatever. That's because to me that's a huge sea change in the empire that we haven't really seen before too. That's still kind of unexplained. Like, what has Moff Gideon got going on? They keep implying it's something big, but he must have the people under him convinced that this is truly like a huge humongous deal, and that it's vital that they succeed, no matter what is sacrificed and everything. So, but as far as all those big picture questions, does anyone know that stuff? Because we watched 3 sequel trilogy movies, and I still have no idea when Palpatine came back. Who brought him back? When they knew he was alive, did he know he was going to live past Jedi? Is that him? Is it his clone? Is what was the plan? What was his master plan? Was it to have a Jedi come along with a better body to kill him so he could possess that Jedi?
Yeah, all of that was so confusing.
Yeah, was it someone of the bloodline that he needed to take over their body? I have no idea about any of it, so I don't even know how we begin to decipher that unless they plan on going from a philosophy of just throwing little sprinkles of these implications in and suddenly decide to answer fill plot holes like Rogue One did.
Yeah, I mean, my initial reaction to that, was that may be something that we're going to get into later. That may be a season 3, season 4 thing that they eventually get into. Because I mean, they can't. I mean, I at least I don't see how they can milk let's return the child to his own kind for 3-4 seasons. I mean, I see that being resolved maybe by the end of this season, and then maybe season 3, season 4, we pick up on more of this big picture, trilogy stuff. Like we've got, all these unanswered questions. Maybe that's what they're going to try and fill in, like you said, kind of AKA a Rogue One or something like that. Like they would fill in some plot holes and explain a few things about how they got there.
I almost wonder if the there's been rumors, and we're kind of stalled here in the middle of our summary, so I won't keep going on forever. But I wonder if some of the rumors of a big change after Episode 4 are that the Mandalorian leaves Baby Yoda with the Jedi, and the Mandalorian goes on to do something else, and then we cut back to the Bo-Katan and the other Mandalorians taking on Moff Gideon in their dropped plot thread where they were taking that ship and it looked like they were implying they were going to go fight some big battle or something. And I wonder if that's what they're going to do, is lean more on those characters. And I also think since they have the tendency to reuse all these settings and planets and everything, I wonder if again we won't get an ending that culminates back on Navarre, because when you show a school and when you show that Cara Dune is turning down the Republic because she feels like she's making more of a difference in what she's doing now than she was with them, and she believes more in what she's doing now, and Greef Karga has gone from a grasping, money grubbing bounty hunter boss to actually kind of like Lando Calrissian, actually taking some responsibility for the people under him. That means stakes, right?
Right.
So because these people now went from at the end of season 1 saying, come back anytime you want, I'm going to be the crime boss and she's going to be my enforcer, to she's suddenly the marshal protecting a school, and he's the governor protecting the planet now. If they kick the Empire off the planet in this episode, that means the stakes are that much higher for them. So I think Navarre becomes the battleground again. I think it's going to be a while before we get off this planet. But I think this could be the place that Moff Gideon comes back to, tracing the child maybe or something. I don't know. And it brings the Bo-Katan and the Mandalorians there, and then you have the original characters. But I don't know how that all fits in with the whole Pedro Pascal rumors and the Mandalorian rumors and all that.
Yeah.
So, but I wonder, there's a lot of places they could go, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And when you said that about you don't see the child plot lasting, I wonder if they won't just resolve it or leave, or put it in a place so they can come back to it, like they
put it in a place they can come back here and there, as opposed to that being the main driving storyline.
Because then people will still tune in to see the child's return, but they don't have to keep milking this forever. They can focus on the things, because the child just eats the screen time and eats the attention. And I mean, honestly, you know, that's what people are mostly interested in. You've got to develop the show and the characters beyond that. And then also you have the promise of the child returning, so people will keep tuning in, hopefully, even though, you know, you don't have that character on. But it's also got to be incredibly prohibitive and expensive to keep filming this puppet every single episode too, as well as another thought of mine. So if they can take a break from that and do a few things without it, they'd probably like that too.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway,
all right. So let's get back to the story.
But no one knows, I don't think, what any of this means as far as the implication for the whole saga, because the saga doesn't know. Saga.
So we've got from the lab, they try to make their escape from this place, but they get pinned down by more stormtroopers on the platform. And this is my last little pet peeve about this episode, and Gundark already alluded to this by not having a problem with it. I, on the other hand, did have a problem with it. This one moment, again, is very minor. It didn't ruin my enjoyment of the episode. I love the episode, but it's just, I don't know. It was one step too far, I think, on the let's throw back and only use dialogue that's ever been used in Star Wars before.
Oh, right.
When the stormtroopers like, okay, men, load your weapons. There they are, blast them. It's like,
Them. Yeah.
I was like, okay, so every time we see stormtroopers now, all we're ever going to see is the exact same things that they said in the other movies. They're never going to say anything new. They're just going to, because apparently they're robots now, and all they can say is, load your weapons. There they are, blast them.
Yeah, it's like there's a guy with a list of the previous dialogue.
Exactly. It's like, we can only say these things.
They check it off as they use them. They go, what's stormtroopers said that we haven't used yet? Oh, and load your weapons. Here it is.
Yeah.
This one's locked. How come?
Here's one. Open the blast doors. Let's have them say that.
Open the blast door.
All right. Must be some sort of drill. All right. Okay. Anyway, sorry. That one, I don't know why, but that one just got on my nerves. Like, okay, come on. You know, they can say something different than just the same lines that they've already said in the original.
We've touched on this, how the dialogue gets recycled, and normally it doesn't bother us because it is applicable to the situation.
Sure.
And it's
that
just
one
a
to
funny
me was just a step too. That, for some reason, that one to me was just like, that one just got on my nerves for some reason. I don't know.
Well,
why.
and the other problem with it is that it's effective the first time you see it.
Right.
You know, you when it hits your ears the first time, you go, ah ha 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 ha. You know, they're saying load your weapons, but there they are, blast them. That's cool. But when you have to go back and watch it again, the shock of hearing it the first time, you know, where you're picking up the fun of finding the Easter eggs is gone, and you're stuck with the reality that the show is recycled. All the dialogue's recycled, and there's no creativity. So then it becomes, you know, like, oh god, yeah,
here we go.
Say the same old shit again. Yeah.
All right. So from there,
Cara Dune down, she'll be all right. Inform Moff Gideon, we have a prisoner.
So from there, Cara Dune basically helps them escape by getting into the big shuttle, whatever that thing is, that Imperial shuttle thing that's on the platform there. She gets them.
It's
everybody
like
basically. Yeah. Oh, and meanwhile, one thing we failed to mention, the Mandalorian has, by this point, right after the lab scene, he flew off to go back and check on the child to make sure he's okay, because now they're thinking that, you know, there's obviously a bigger
from the child,
and he is so valuable that maybe while they're being distracted at this base, somebody circled around and picking up the child. So he goes off.
We've all forgotten about the tracker fobs, the infinite power.
Exactly.
That they seem to have just dropped.
And
this season.
so from there, it's now the three of them, Mithril, Grief Karga, and Cara Dune. And they're so she gets in this big Imperial shuttle thing, whatever it is. They all pile in there. Her escape route through the base is cut off, so they end up just making a leap for it off the edge, landing on the speeder they originally arrived in, and then taking off through the canyons.
Wait, is that my speeder?
Immediately followed by a platoon of basically biker scouts on their bikes, who
Which
also
was a great sequence, by the way.
great scene. Yeah, we now see like more things that these speeder bikes can do that we were unaware of, that they can literally like leap from heights and like hover down, from these high precipices. And anyway, I thought it was really kind of a nice touch how two of them were just such doofuses that they just literally run into each other and just kill each other in the pursuit. That was pretty
BMX enthusiasts are assholes, basically, is what it tells you.
Oh, now that's cool. Ooh, wow.
That's a good way to work together there.
Exactly. So that
leaves
leaves three
go for the
biker
opening.
scouts chasing them. Grief Karga, basically, and again another throwback to A New Hope. He goes back and kind of gets on the gun and is shooting at them as they approach. He takes one out. The best one though was the second one, the one that Cara Dune takes out, pins him up against the basically sandwiches him into the rock wall. That was really
that was
well
great
because he came beside her. It was shooting into the open cockpit, and so she finally just kind of did an Indiana Jones and bang, took him out.
I thought her reaction was some of the best acting she's done, where she's
I thought
very
so too.
enthusiastic
That was
about
really
killing
enthusiastic.
Imperials.
Yeah, that was.
I can't even imagine having a camera pointed at you and saying, "Okay, now say Yahoo."
Yeah, exactly. Like, how can you possibly make that
Woo,
look
Yahoo, do something like that.
Yeah.
Are you serious? Really? My character's going to do that? Yeah,
character's
you're
gonna say
do that.
Yahoo.
You're going to do it right now. Didn't anyone tell you? Yeah, go for it. Do it.
Right. So then we get down to the third and final biker scout, who actually climbs up on top of it. He has a grenade and he's just about to drop it into the cockpit when Grief Karga finally finds where he is, and from point blank range with the two massive guns just obliterates this guy.
That was literally a Boba Fett wear treatment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really was. It really was.
It's about to do something important, and Boba Fett, biker scout.
Yeah, biker scout, where? Bang.
Yeah. And again, they took a great deal of pleasure in just executing Imperials. Grief Karga was like,
yeah, exactly. So now we get to the second part of this battle. They think they're home free, but then the next thing you see are these TIE fighters in pursuit. So we've got 4 TIE fighters in pursuit now.
Another great sequence.
Yeah.
Very, very amazing sequence. Loved it. Loved every second of this one.
I hope they realize that you need villains in this show, and you need villains in Star Wars, and they still haven't come up with ones better than the Empire.
Right.
They just haven't.
Yeah, exactly.
And when TIE fighters take off, and when you hear those engines and stuff, I'm invested again. I want to. I want to
completely.
See
that.
Yeah.
That's
Still
like
works.
Yeah, the sound of original TIE fighters and original stormtroopers. That's just, I'm all in. Yeah, those two.
Yeah.
It's like 6 of one, half dozen of the other. As far as
Come up with something better. Good luck. But
yeah, exactly.
for now, it's the best villains you have. So,
so we get that battle. And they ultimately are able to take, or at least they were able to take out 2 of them. Grief Karga took out 2 of them. They break out into the open, and they're just about to get shot. You can see the little targeting computers, which I thought that was a cool throwback. That they still have the original targeting computers, sounds, and all that. And then right as they're blasting them, suddenly one of them just explodes right in front of them, and it's actually that would be the second TIE fighter explodes right in front of them, and you see the Razor Crest come flying into view. And then we have a really over-the-top celebration from our cast, which is a little
You
out of
call it
place.
over the top until TIE fighters are about to blast you and
a
kill you.
little over the top, I thought, but that's okay.
We're alive. It's no big deal. We're alive.
It's no big deal.
I thought I was about to be
Yeah.
disintegrated,
So
burned
we get
alive.
another round of yahoos, and and then we see a really cool action sequence with the Razor Crest, probably one of the coolest scenes we've had of the Razor Crest yet. Literally
The
pursuing
Razor Crest's redemption, yeah. After
pursuing
it
this.
crashed this whole
Yeah, now it's
season.
been really fixed properly, not Mon Calamari fixed, and it actually is just going straight up through the clouds, takes out one TIE fighter, and then that great shot of it coming up, with its the brakes literally coming out, turning around and diving down on the other one and taking that one out. Meanwhile, we've got the child sitting back in the seat, still eating cookies and enjoying literally like a roller coaster ride with his hands up, just like woo, whole time, which was great. Which that will pay off in a second. So meanwhile, as he's taking out the last two TIE fighters, again, other side of the planet, they're back at this main city of Navarro in 30 seconds, and they pull the Imperial shuttle up right up in front of the entrance to the city.
It's like a 5-minute drive.
It literally is, yeah.
It's like dashing across an open field and you're to the city.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. So I don't know why they bothered to
We're
explain
almost
that
there.
all the way on the other side of the planet, unless the entire planet is the size of a city. So anyway, so we get back to the main city there in Navarro. The Razor Crest has taken out the last two TIE fighters, and then we get the little spit up scene with the child after being so shaken up and eating the cookies at the same time. We finally get he just spits up on him on his tunic there, and I just thought that was great the way
And the
Mando just kind of
uses his own cape.
he uses his own cape to wipe it off.
Something Lando would never do. Mando let Lando down on that one.
Well, Mando doesn't have Lando's cape game. So at this point, Grief is obviously thanking the Mandalorian for saving them, and they say, hey, let's just call it even. You repaired my ship, we'll just call it even. Hey, can I buy you a drink? And he's like, well, I got to get going. Because he has, like he called it, onboard maintenance to do, which is clean up the child's puke. And then from there, he's got to get going to find Ahsoka.
He's like, look, we're already 4 episodes into this thing. I gotta get this on the road.
We don't have time to sit around and have drinks. So from there, we're done with the main storyline. Now from there, we sort of get an epilogue scene at this point, where we open up on
Dun, dun, dun.
the underside of a giant ship. It kind of looks like a Star Destroyer, but yet kind of not. But you get the effect that it's basically that type of ship. You go inside. This is where we learn that the shady character at the beginning, who was fixing the Razor Crest, has actually working for the Imperials and has put a tracking unit aboard the ship. So from there, the Imperial officer that's being told this goes walks down the hall and opens another door, and all of a sudden we get there's scientists and there's Moff Gideon and there's the smoke and all this stuff going on. She walks in and delivers the news that, hey, the tracking device has been installed successfully on the Razor Crest, and she confirmed, our inside man basically has confirmed that the child is still with him. And so Moff Gideon is as pleased as he ever gets, with a slight smirk, thinking that this is good. So then the final scene of the whole show, we just get a pan back shot of what he's inspecting, and we're not sure what this is. In a second, I think Gundark has some insight on this, but my take on it was that it looks like he's building some sort of super soldiers or something, like a whole platoon of super soldiers or something, because they're about these 9 foot tall, like black, armored stormtrooper looking guys.
Are they gonna they'll track them to Ahsoka then?
I'm searching for the best fried chicken recipe ever.
Oh my goodness.
Those look like Cylons.
Okay, so
Got 'em
they're
plugged right
armored for the clone troops. Carl Weathers, wow.
And then there's clone troops.
So what did you find out about this Gundark? What kind of research did you come up with?
Enlighten us.
I saw a couple of articles that claim that those are dark troopers from the Star Wars computer game, video game, Dark Forces from 1994.
Oh yeah, I remember those.
There were a couple of different of those video games, and
I
they
think
were.
that was even a boss fight at the end of that game.
Yes, yeah, because they were, according to what I read, I'd never seen the game or played it, but according to what I read, the storyline for those games had a General Rom Mock creating this new type of stormtrooper called the Dark Trooper for personal combat, because he didn't like the impersonal super weapons like the Death Star, and so he wanted to create these incredible stormtroopers, and he created 3 different phases of them. The first one was just kind of like a Cylon. It was a droid, a battle droid. The second was just larger than the first, but still a droid. And the third phase of these troopers was supposed to be an exoskeleton for actual organic, like clone troopers to wear.
Oh, okay.
And he actually wore this exoskeleton himself as in the boss fight, the final boss fight in that game. And this carried over into from the games to let's see, the Dark Horse Star Wars comics, Dark Empire 2 and Empire's End, where they had dark troopers that actually have minor force using capabilities. So there were people wondering if what Moff Gideon is trying to do is to create like maybe clone troopers with force abilities to put into this super exoskeleton. And the interesting thing that I found about the original armor that they wore, they included jetpacks and indestructible armor forged from a metal called Frink.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if they aren't going to like do something like have Mandalorian type armor made of Beskar,
Right.
jetpacks, something that could fight the Mandalorians that they're going to be bringing back. If he's creating something where you could have 2 forces, Mandalorians and this new force of stormtroopers going against each other.
I think his words.
That's
I think his words there were prophetic when he said, "And we'll be ready." What are the odds they actually will be ready?
Right. Never happens.
Will be ready means they're going to win. If they're ready and if these guys are unleashed.
Right.
So the whole point is going to be to stop them before they're finished and before they're unleashed, which just like the game, maybe there will be one that Moff Gideon gets to use just like he did at the end with his TIE fighter at the end of season 1. And it will be a personal battle. So far, everything I've seen from the show, like I said, it's personal. It gets reduced down to no matter how many. They did finally introduce a giant ship, Moff Gideon's destroyer or whatever that is, that has mandibles. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
But like what cargo is he grabbing with those? But I still think it'll come down to personalized combat unless Moff Gideon just kind of stays out of the fray and they introduce another character for the heroes to take down, and he takes his fleet away or whatever to come back next year or something. So I think the odds of us seeing hundreds of those things launching and fighting and stuff are probably pretty slim. I think it's got to come down to something more personal.
Well, what
smaller
about
scale than that?
The speculation of like him maybe experimenting on himself with
that makes more sense to me. Who really wants to see troops with force abilities? That doesn't make any sense. That's the opposite of each other. That's 2 things that just don't go together. They wouldn't. I just don't see how it would work.
How are you gonna be able to control them?
First make your stormtroopers able to hit the broadside of a barn. That would be a good start. Yeah, because if they did that, you would tell them how many battles you would have won if they
could actually fire and be accurate.
Instead of going for mass numbers, you go for quality. But just make a better soldier, that's more impenetrable, that's more fearsome, like a walker.
But then tell me, what do you speculate was the purpose of the cloning then that was revealed?
I think that's separate, personally.
Okay.
I think so too. Yeah, I think those are 2 separate things.
Yeah, because he says we'll be ready. Well, obviously the clone thing isn't ready yet.
Isn't working.
Because 3 days ago, the guy said the person succumbed.
Died,
the volunteer succumbed and I won't fail you again. So you can't say we'll be ready when a guy's saying I won't fail you again, but I just failed you.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see how the two can be interdependent
Yeah.
unless, like you said, the Force thing is the very last element that he's been promised is going to be done on time, and he's going to put it into those suits. I hope and pray that's not the case, because I just think that's really hokey and not.
Yeah.
It just, I'd much rather see a person with Force abilities, which if Moff Gideon might be wanting to infuse himself with that, because he's got the dark saber.
He's got the saber.
He's standing in line to be perhaps the next emperor, or stand in for the emperor, and so the Force would give him another weapon that he might personally covet. And I still maintain there could be another reason. It could be the emperor that they're trying to heal from death or bring back, or it could be something very personal to Moff Gideon, like a family member or something like that, which is another kind of typical storyline we see, which he could have two things going on, and the Baby Yoda part of it could be much more personal that's driving him, that he wants to conquer the galaxy, but he only wants to do it if he can hand it to his daughter or his wife, or, you know, something. There's usually some kind of humanity in the core of those characters. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was linked, because Baby Yoda, yeah, he has a lot of power. He can lift a mud horn. You know, the Force can do things. They can bring Ritz crackers to you across the room. It can bring you a television remote if you don't want to get up. But really, what is more powerful than healing? You know, and they emphasized that in season 1. People who were mortally wounded, dying, people who, you know, that Baby Yoda, if he felt a connection to these people and thought it was worth it, could heal them at a great cost to himself. So what's more valuable than that, really? You know, I understand the Force is a weapon, but I think there's got to be some aspect to the healing of this thing. Yeah.
That became a key in the saga too, in Rise of Skywalker.
Moff Gideon could have discovered the healing properties the same way our heroes did. When they had possession of the child originally, whoever was experimenting on it could have been injured in a lab accident or something, and the child healed them, or they discovered through the blood it had healing properties, something to where he covets that ability. I would much rather see that than super soldier, you know. And we all know that they're going to blow up that destroyer full of the super soldiers before they get loose or whatever, most likely. So, but I loved that ending scene because I've been asking for a check-in on the Imperials this whole time. We got to see a new ship. We got to see new part of the plan. We got to see that Moff Gideon's underling is a 4-chicklet. Therefore, they may be running low on officer material.
Only 4 chicklets.
Not 5 or 6 like the real ones.
But I think it is funny that older officers seem to be out in the field, and Gideon's got younger ones directly under him. Which is surprising. They're even still recruiting younger ones or keeping them in the fold. So anyway, I think that says something about it. I'm not sure what, but he's probably moving on to people that he finds more useful than the old class Imperials who have failed at this point, you know, which would imply the beginnings of the First Order, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Because the First Order had to be young at one point, and they had to have that, I don't know.
Right.
But who knows? I'm sure it'll be something simple for the show. It'll be something simple.
Any final thoughts on this episode, or any thoughts looking forward to the next episode? I do have a potential spoiler for the next episode on Wikipedia.
I want to say one more thing about this episode.
Yeah.
I just, I give kudos to Carl Weathers for the action sequences. And I love the amount of time that Grief Karga got in the gun turret. Kind of like, I kept thinking, like, when I first saw Predator, I told Greedo, did I ever imagine that I would see Carl Weathers in a Star Wars?
In a Star Wars turret.
You know, it was just so awesome to see him having wonderful action sequences.
I agree. I love his presence on the show.
Yeah, and that was the whole, it felt like old Star Wars space battles, wonderful fun space battles.
Exactly, yeah.
The reaction
I got that
of Baby Yoda at the end, like riding on a roller coaster, was the way I felt in watching that whole sequence. I was like, woohoo, yeah, finally. So,
and
all
I think
of that was wonderful.
I think that encapsulates kind of what I thought about, like I was saying, just trying to describe earlier about the Stormtrooper battles. It just, to me, it was just such a throwback to the old style, original trilogy style battles. Just fun to watch, just great. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was fantastic.
I will. I want to push the controversy klaxon for a second.
Go ahead and do
Controversy
it.
klaxon.
You got to.
I have to put a couple of questions to you guys. One, was Baby Yoda riding the roller coaster a bridge too far, or was it
No.
good
No.
and
Wait for me.
perfect?
And we were watching this with my husband, and his face just lit up. And my husband is like someone who like low threshold, for tolerance of Baby
For that
Yoda.
kind of stuff, yeah.
All these
Any
videos.
bullshit,
And
actually.
his face just lit up with Baby Yoda.
Yeah, that's great.
And I
To
like
me-
how he was in the background, dude.
That was a
I
little
think
just
he
about to
was-
say that's why it worked for me.
Yeah.
Because it was in the background behind him, and it wasn't just these gratuitous close-up shots of him going,
Yeah.
"Woo," and stuff like that. That would have been too much. Yeah.
Yeah. He
But the
was
way they
in the
did it, I thought
background.
was well done. Yeah, I
What was he?
agree. I
Yeah,
like
what was he supposed to do? Grab the seat arms and his eyes roll back white and frost at the mouth. He has a seizure, and the Mandalorian ruthlessly
Exactly.
pushes forward.
The way it was shot in the background, I thought worked perfectly.
Okay, well, I saw a lot of pushback on the internet in regards to that. The
Really?
use of Baby Yoda and that scene, saying, "Yeah, that it's just too cheesy," and he's like he's riding a Disney ride, and some people barfed up their blue cookies over that one.
Yeah, of course.
I liked it. I thought it was hilarious.
I did too.
And, one of the things about the child is he doesn't fully grasp what's going on at any given moment.
Mhm.
He has moments of clarity, but the rest of the time he's just kind of enjoying himself.
Along
Yeah.
for the literally
What
along
else
for
is
the
he
ride,
supposed
yeah.
to do? Yeah. So, and I loved that he puked and stuff. I thought that was great.
Yeah, that was good.
And my other point of controversy I want to bring up is, I mean, I know you're Trader. You love Stormtroopers. I love Stormtroopers. We love seeing them.
Yeah.
Are they played out at this point? Is there any
No.
point in Stormtroopers again in Star Wars? I mean, but listen, man, they're they're punchline of a joke now. Every time they say the
No.
same dialogue, Mandalorian flies and
Okay.
disappears, and hilariously, the Stormtrooper plummets to his death. Right? And waka 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 waka.
I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying, but I don't see it that way. And I was actually
I mean, there was like hundreds of them at the end of a
According
quarter,
to
and they
what-
couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
and to that point, this is why okay, two things. One, I really was hoping that they were going to kill Mithril that way. I was hoping the stormtrooper was going to hit him.
They
To
kill
show, hey,
someone.
we can hit something. But to that point,
He's blue
they
and
did.
glowing.
they did multiple times hit Mandalorian. It's just that his
Yes,
Beskar
yeah.
deflects
They
him.
hit the
So
one
it's not like they
person
were
who was
shooting
armored
off
against
wildly. They're still bouncing off of him. So they were actually
They're like,
hitting him.
I know, headshot right in the helmet.
Yeah.
Choo, choo, choo. And also, I wanted to say this. This was another thing that the stormtroopers have, as for me as a mythos, have been taking massive hits ever since we've continued Star Wars. Rogue One was possibly the worst because they're Keystone Cops blowing themselves up, dropping grenades, and a freaking droid holds off 800, a whole platoon of them, and then in Rogue One, a guy with the magic stick is beating them in the helmet, and they're getting punched in the helmet. What? I mean, is there a point to a helmet anymore when you can get punched in the helmet, full face covering, and you're just knocked out? What is the point of that? And then the big hit they took last week for me, which I forgot in our previous, was when Bo-Katan and the Mandalorians were going down the corridor, and Mando or one of them did the smoke screen, and they switched to their cool night vision. Well, it's a corridor. It's about 8 feet wide, and they walked right down the middle in a smoke screen. They did a smoke screen to stand in the middle.
Yeah, I get it.
The stormtrooper
I thought that
fired
too.
on
I
all
thought that too.
sides, except the middle. And they were predictably mowed down. I mean, didn't one of them think, I'm just going to fire in the center of this cloud?
Yeah, I thought that too. Yeah.
I mean, so you guys don't agree. I think I would love to see them establish some kind of legitimacy back to the actual ground level stormtrooper again. But obviously they're played more for humor. And it's what makes me wonder, like, is Moff Gideon's master plan just going to be a big joke, at the end?
Well, we'll see.
But maybe the dark troopers will be much more efficient.
So Gundark,
Maybe
what do you,
that's why-
Gundark, tell
maybe-
me.
That's why he needed the force capabilities for his troopers so they could shoot straight.
Right. Well, we all know the stormtrooper is a degradation from the clone trooper. The clone troopers were efficient mostly and badass and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So nobody really agreed. Gundark, you still want to see more stormtroopers, and you think
Yeah.
they're a finest humor comedy relief?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not bothered by that.
They still have
no.
the coolest uniforms in the galaxy, but they are the dumbest of the dumb at this point. There is no redeeming them. All right. I call off the controversy. This battle is to the dead.
So this was obviously, like we talked about, this was directed by Carl Weathers, written by Jon Favreau. So next week we have a Dave Filoni directed episode,
Ahsoka.
written by also Dave Filoni.
Yeah.
Does anybody else
Ahsoka.
want to take a guess at what character we're going to see?
Ahsoka, yeah.
Do you want to know the title of the episode?
What is it?
The Jedi.
Oh, okay.
The Jedi.
So
gotta be
we
it.
know that we're going
Okay.
to see Ahsoka next week, I'm thinking.
Yes, what are
Because
the...
Filoni
what
wrote
are
it,
the
directed
Jedi?
it, and it's called The Jedi.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I wonder, are Jedi still like sheep though? Is that still plural?
Yeah,
Plural
could
and
there be-
singular.
could
Sheep,
there be
sheep,
more than
sheep,
one?
a singular sheep,
A
mini
whole
sheep,
flock of Jedi.
a Jedi, mini Jedi, last Jedi.
Exactly.
Luke
All right.
continues to shrink
Oh,
before
do
our
we
very
want
eyes.
do we want to give a rating? of
Yeah,
this
we need to do.
episode?
Yeah, thank you for reminding me that. Yeah, we need to do our rating for this episode.
I'll step in. I'm giving it a 9. Like I did another one this season. This season's just been so much fun for me. Even though it was slow, the beginning of the episode, the action in the second half was just so wonderful and joyous to me.
Yeah,
I don't really understand what was slow about the first
I don't
half
know.
of
It just
but-
as I was.
it was just a
watching
little bit of a
it the first
setup, I
time.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I was watching it the first time, it seemed a little, and I was wondering where is this going.
And the classroom scene and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It was
yeah,
good,
9,
just-
9 for
But
me.
they extended the episode a little bit to make room for those things. I
Mhm.
felt like
Yeah.
time wise, so you didn't feel like the rest of it was rushed. So that's what they
Right.
need to do if they want to put character beats in there and show us other environments and establish little things like the classroom and put a joke in there for Baby Yoda. Just add 5 minutes, so you can do
Yeah.
it without taking
Sure.
away from being able to build the.
That's the
tension on
thing, because
rest
these
of it.
aren't already overly long episodes. They're short episodes.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it makes no sense.
Yeah, when
not
it's
to add
25
5
minutes long and they waste 5 minutes on that stuff, then I feel
Right.
like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might have been slow, but
Exactly.
yeah. Anyway,
So, all right, I'll give it.
go
I'm
ahead.
going to give it 8.5 stars. for this
8.5
episode,
stars.
which is the same as the way I rated the Marshall episode.
So if the stormtroopers had said anything original, you would have bumped that.
It would have been a
It's been
14.
8.7. I'm going to give it an 8.
Okay.
Just kind of remain consistent with my
Also the same as the Marshall
critiquing
episode.
style, which
Yeah.
is then I'm gonna go 7.5 then, because I still think the Marshall was a better episode. As much as I love seeing the old characters return, that was great. I find no fault with this episode. I'm like Pontius Pilate. I find no fault with this episode, but I think a 7.5 is fair enough. 7.5 to 8, something like that.
Mhm. Okay.
Really good episode. I want more like this.
Yeah.
Definitely for
Same
me.
here.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna get it for the rest of the season. Honestly, I think we're.
I don't think so.
Do you think they're
I
gonna
think we'll
throw
get.
in
I
a
think we'll
random
get a
filler
great.
episode?
Yes, definitely. I think
Okay.
we'll get a. I think we'll get a great episode. What will be episode 5, chapter 5 next week?
Yes.
Yeah, I think chapter 6 will be a big letdown.
Okay.
Probably.
But
they'll
you know,
gear back up for the final 2.
yeah, it depends on how
Yeah.
you view letdown.
No, I could see that happening. I could see that
Mhm.
happening. You're right. You're right.
7 and 8 will be a 2-parter that
Yeah.
will probably, hopefully, kick ass and not be chock full of bad decisions.
All right. Well, if we don't have anything else, I guess we'll go ahead and sign out. And we'll see everybody next week for Chapter 13, Episode 5, The Jedi.
The Jedi.
Thanks, guys.
Yay!
Mhm.
Watch the ratings go
All right,
up.
everybody, for the final thing here, everybody's got to give their best Yahoo.
Woohoo!
Yahoo!
See, it's not easy.
Yeah!
Ah, yeah.
Ah!
Ooh, that stormtrooper went splat.
Yodeling.
Woo, all right.
All right, now
Where
everybody
else can you get such
together.
great entertainment?
Just imagine everybody together that Mando just blasted the TIE fighters out of the sky that were about to kill you. And then everybody all together. 1, 2, 3.
3, 2.
Yes!
Yeah!
Yes!
Woo!
Yes! Yes!
Woo-hoo! Ah!
Yes!
All know around here, Solo always does shots first. Singing your no, raise your glass and sing your no. Sing it with me, your no. At the Cantina Club.
Oh, I like that mug. That's cool.
Oh, shit. Malfunction.
What
you may
just
suffer
happened?
a major malfunction.
Did you just fall or what?
Yes. What the stabilize! Stabilize!
Rancor.
Oh man.
Oh, okay. It's easy does it. Easy. No! I don't know what happened.
You're trying.
Baby Yoda's trying to take over the transmission.
What in the world?
We can't all have perfect cameras like you, traitor.
Yeah, I know. That's the problem. Thought you were
All right.
Lord Greedo. Think you'd have more power than that.
Well, the camera was bowing to me.